But it's a 7-game night, and the marquee matchup of the evening is taking place in Oracle. It's the first of 4 meetings between the Clippers and the Warriors on ABC. Blake Griffin returned from that knee procedure Tuesday against Philly, 12 points, 11 rebounds, in a loss to the Sixers, and now he is in the Lions' den. Always kind of chippy when those teams get together.
They don't like one another.
No, they really don't.
They do
I
not.
love watching those two teams play.
I do too.
They don't like each other.
It's old-timey basketball.
Exactly.
Well, here's the last 4 games as the Clippers are dealing with the loss of perhaps the best pure point guard in the league in Chris Paul, who has that thumb injury. So get used to this version of the Clippers, that is, unless they make a trade, which could very well happen. And that's what leads me now to my next point here, and the fact that Carmelo Anthony, all the way in New York, may be part of negotiations. The Clippers might be a destination for him, Sam. There's only so many doors that can open up, though, for a Melo because of the no-trade clause and teams that can accept him in and make something like that happen. So the Clippers are, at least it's been acknowledged that they say they're open to just about anything.
Well, they got to listen, man. When Phil Jackson calls the Clippers and said, I don't want Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, or DeAndre Jordan, then you got to listen. And you're talking about Carmelo Anthony. I understand the money, the salary cap, and all those things, but you're talking about adding one of the greatest offensive players in the history of the NBA. Now, I know he's not the greatest defender. He's not the greatest rebounder and things of that nature, but you got DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin. And if you can add Carmelo Anthony at that 3 spot, yeah, they may not be the greatest defensive team, but when you throw that basketball up and when Chris Paul comes back, and he's got Blake Griffin, Carmelo Anthony, and he's got DeAndre Jordan rolling to the basket for those lobs, that would be a tough lineup to defend. And so if you're the Clippers, you got to look at it because without him, and Rex, I think you would agree, they're not going to beat Golden State the way their team is constructed right now. I know they like to think that, but Golden State is just too strong offensively for them to beat them.
I agree with that, but I also don't think they beat Golden State with Melo. Chris Paul has to have the ball in his hands. Has to. Melo has to have the ball in his hands. Has to.
Yeah.
So that's not a given that would go there and work. It's a gamble. I do like it a little bit better than him going to Cleveland. Yeah, but we do know this. Melo has said there are 3 or 4 teams I'll go to. So he's dictating
but
all
listen
of that.
to what he's saying. Now, he's telling you up front which type of team he needs to go to and the type of guys he needs on that team that's going to get the most out of him, that he respects. If you think about it, if he goes to the Clippers, Chris Paul and him are good friends. Chris Paul is going to run the show. If he goes to Cleveland, enough said, LeBron James. Everybody understands when you go to Cleveland, LeBron James runs the show.
You don't know if Melo does.
He knows. Rex, you know that. Everybody understands the pecking order.
At this point in your career, if you're Melo, you're probably going to make some concessions about that in order to fit in.
I think so.
A situation where you have a chance
all
to
his
win.
guys
I would
have
hope
won
so.
rings.
I would hope
him.
so.
Yes.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
he made a move last night, a spin move in the paint. He can't jump anymore.
Well, listen,
his legs are going. If this were 3 or 4 years ago, I'm all in. Go to Cleveland. Not now.
But let me ask you guys this. If you're Doc Rivers and you have to make a deal to try to get Melo, would you include your son in that pack? Sam, would you trade your son to get better and win a championship?
Absolutely. Look, son done got paid. He's an established NBA player. Look, he's taken care of. Austin Rivers, look, people need to get off Austin. Austin is a solid NBA player. He's not a star, okay, but he is a solid rotational NBA player. And people have to understand that. You look at the numbers that he's put up when he gets significant minutes, he plays well. He's averaging 15, 16 points a game. He gets assists, and he can run the basketball team. So would I trade him? Absolutely, for a chance for Carmelo Anthony. And I understand all the risks and what everyone's saying, but right now, if you're the Clippers, what do you have to lose? They don't have a small forward that can score.
That's been a problem.
That's been a problem.
Been
Having a
void.
forward that
nothing
can
against
score
Bamute,
the
he plays hard.
Can't score? I'm Bamute?
No, but nothing against him. And they've tried different lineups, even going with smaller lineups, including Austin.
Hey, guys, think about this. That lineup may be out there the first 6, 7 minutes of the game, but now look what it gives Doc. He can mix and match his lineup. Melo can be with those second-team guys. Blake Griffin. It gives you a lot of different options. So now when you start taking guys out the game, you're still strong. The reason with Golden State's so tough, when they go to their bench and they mix and match, 2 of those 4 All-Stars are always on the court at all times.
You give me Melo on that Clippers team, and I think that if they played just a 2-minute game, I'm all in. but they got to play the other 46 minutes. And during those 46 minutes, it's all about habits.
Yeah.
And we know this. I know this well. You know it, Sam. Melo hasn't had the greatest defensive habits. Now, you go play for Doc Rivers, you better get your habits in shape.
I coached Ray Allen in Milwaukee Rex. Never known for his defense. He goes to Boston when Kevin Garnett walks through the door. Paul Pierce, same. No one ever talked about Paul Pierce playing defense ever until Kevin Garnett walked in the room. It's something about having that guy that you respect and look up to.
What about the bigger picture for the Clippers? Because it seems like, first of all, they're a very polarizing team. Nobody's in the middle. No, there's no middle ground when you talk about the Clippers. Sam, do you think they know who they are at this point? And how much will facing a Golden State team 3 times now in the next 27 days say who they are and what they're about, even without Chris Paul?
We already know. I mean, look, we got last year, the year before. Yeah. Golden State have beaten the Clippers. They've owned them. 7
straight wins.
Absolutely. So we already know. What are we waiting to see? What is
they're
Doc
saying
waiting
it's important. They're saying it's important that they have to have some success
Absolutely, but the team that you have constructed right now has had no success. With Blake Griffin, even when they're healthy, they cannot beat Golden State. They cannot score them. They're not going to stop them defensively. It's just not going to happen. But at least if you add a guy like Carmelo, think about something. Blake Griffin. Now, when you start looking at matchups, it's tough now. When you start talking about who's going to guard Carmelo Anthony, who's going to guard Blake Griffin, who's going to guard Chris Paul, and then you got to protect the rim because DeAndre Jordan is putting pressure on that rim at all times. And that's the key. He rolls so hard to that basket. Now, Melo can shoot the 3. He can go one-on-one. It's a lot of different things, and he strengthens your overall team. I'm not saying it's going to guarantee you a championship, but it gives you a chance.
You better not.
Well, right now you don't have a chance.
But it puts other teams on notice in the Western Conference. And now all of a sudden, Rex, you're not coming around on it.
I'm not coming around on it. I love Melo. Great kid. We won a lot of games in Denver with Melo. I think he's a top 50 player. Much like Dominique, top 50 guy, scored a ton of points in this league and could never quite get his team and they had some good teams here in Atlanta, over the hump. And Neek, I love you, brother. You know this. That said, Melo's much the same. His career has gone much the same. Yes, he bounced around, but he's at a similar point as Dominique was late in his career. Dominique ended up in San Antonio, right?
Yeah.
How'd that work out?
Well, listen, let's wrap it up with this. Does Melo have to leave New York after all of this stuff that's going on?
I don't think he has to, but Vince, it'd probably be good if he wants to win a championship. And for Dominique, I say this. When I played for the Pacers, we were scheduled to play the Hawks in the playoffs. Right before that trade deadline, they traded Danny Manning to the Hawks for Dominique Wilkins. It was a big sigh of relief. No disrespect to Danny, but Danny's going to do this. He's going to get 16 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Dominique Wilkins is going to have 2 assists, but he's going to get you 35. So we was worried about that guy. Melo can get you 35.
That's right.
We were worried about that guy that can get you 35, not the guy that's got 16 and 5 assists and 2 steals. That guy's not going to beat us. It's that guy that's going to get 35 because guess what? You got to change your whole defense to allow for this guy.
Trade deadline right after the All-Star break. We'll see what happens, Bo. It's been interesting to hear this about Carmelo and the teams that may or may not be interested.